Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more content. Today we'll be taking an in-depth look at an extremely notorious Liverpool crime family that has even been made the subject of a television documentary, the Fitzgibbon family. The family includes brothers Mr. Jason Fitzgibbon and Mr. Ian Fitzgibbon, who were involved in an international drug trafficking ring. Their mother, Miss Christine Fitzgibbon, is also believed to be a crucial mastermind in the criminal undertakings of the family. Mr. Daniel Smith was a noteworthy associate of the Fitzgibbons. The patriarch of the family was Mr. Billy Fitzgibbon, also known as Mr. William Fitzgibbon, who agreed by most scholars had lower authority and power in the family of crime. Mr. Jason, in particular, was identified as the family hard man, who was happy to dish out violence when necessary. Jason and Mr. Smith had attacked a car dealer in Wiston, who he had blamed for not coming up with a motor on time. Carlisle Crown Court heard that Mr. Jason first approached the car dealer about buying a BMW X5 4x4 for his girlfriend, but when the dealer could not find the right car, Jason became angry. He said, "You've let my bird down. I'll show you what happens when you let people down. I'll meet up with you and I'll cut you from ear to ear. Don't treat me like an idiot. When I say I'll do something, I'll do it." The dealer agreed to meet Mr. Smith near the village hotel in Wiston, but when he arrived, he was jumped by a group of men wearing balaclavas and then stabbed. Mr. Smith and Mr. Jason Fitzgibbon later admitted to GBH. Edale Road was the home of Miss Christine Fitzgibbon, who surprisingly did not have a criminal record. But the extent of the role she played by the doting grandma shocked and surprised detectives. She claimed benefits whilst living the high life through her son's drug business. Christine was an expert on advising her sons on how to avoid the law, and how she could work out exchange rates for European drug deals at the drop of a hat. She was described as a sophisticated businesswoman who knew when to make the deal and when to hold. Christine is the real matriarch of the family. She is the thing that binds them and bonds them. She resolves internal disputes, and everything revolves around her. It was apparent that Christine, in effect, schooled her children from an early age on how to disregard the laws of the land. The family were determined to amass a criminal fortune. The family revelled in their notoriety. The humongous Fitzgibbon crimes family gaudy mansion in Liverpool paid for by a £3.2 million global drug dealing network. Jason Fitzgibbon was from Crofton Mansions, North Sudley Road, Liverpool, while Mr. Ian from Higham Gardens, St Helens. What we're talking about here is a family who have held a very tight rein on areas of Liverpool for a number of years. They thought they were untouchable. Their motive, just financial greed, and greed in terms of their status and notoriety. Noting the sophistication of the operation, if they were to have channeled their thoughts and efforts into a legitimate business, they'd be very wealthy individuals. What we have here is a criminal family running a criminal business. Mum, very much the company director, finance director and consultant. Father, a consultant advisor to the two brothers and the brothers' very hands-on managing directors involved in source countries and face-to-face meetings. Jason Fitzgibbon was in charge of transport, whilst Ian Fitzgibbon, aged 39, was in charge of logistics. Mum, as the finance director, would be well aware of the exchange rate between the euro and the pound, being in charge of laundering the money. She would be aware of the impact of that in any importation. She's very acutely aware of the police's tactics and would advise her sons on forensic strategies and ways to avoid detection. On paper, Miss Christine was an unemployed housewife who, with her husband William, collected £1,500 in benefits each month. The Fitzgibbon clan dealt in violence, money and drugs for more than a decade and amassed a fortune, yet claimed thousands of pounds in benefits. They've been described as akin to the Sopranos. The Fitzgibbon crime family have been major players in organised crime for 30 or 40 years, and one of the reasons they've stayed at the top of their game is because they use extreme violence when necessary to protect their interests. They can be very intimidating and are very good at getting to a witness, which is why the police find it very difficult to build cases against them, and they're extremely good drug dealers, so it's a recipe for success in an underworld crime family. Mr. Paul Fitzgibbon was a lesser known brother of Mr. Jason Fitzgibbon and Mr. Ian Fitzgibbon, who was also part of the criminal syndicate. Jason and Ian were both jailed in 2013 after it emerged they were plotting to flood the UK with Turkish heroin. When Turkish police smashed an Istanbul-based drug gang, the trail began to lead back to South Liverpool. Manchester Crown Court heard that the 60% pure heroin would have cost around €300,000 to buy wholesale from Turkey. The drugs would have made around £7 million when sold on the streets of Liverpool. The Serious Organised Crime Agency then mounted a sophisticated surveillance operation to take down the Fitzgibbons. Jason and Ian were prepared to go to the source countries, such as Turkey, and understand the complex logistics of smuggling hard drugs across Europe and into the UK. Detectives believe the brothers, who cultivated criminal contacts across Europe and South America, never had any legitimate income. Both would frequently travel abroad for meetings with drug contacts in Colombia, Mexico, Spain and Turkey, and in 2007 were suspected of heading up a heroin smuggling plot from Holland. The Dutch case ultimately collapsed due to a lack of evidence. Here, Mr. Jason Fitzgibbon, you have a big lad from a notorious family who are capable, and so the police say, of more than just a little frightener. In 2006, Mr. Jason Fitzgibbon was involved in a major confrontation with the North Liverpool drug gang in the Mosquito Club in Victoria Street. Jason was said to have been threatened with a weapon, which resulted in a major standoff between two rival factions in the city night spot. There were reports of a near riot as the two groups clashed. Intelligence from the England to Turkish police stopped the deal in its tracks, and on September 26, 2011, 5 local drug traffickers were rounded up, and in the boot of a car, officers discovered 114 half-kilo packs of heroin wrapped in brown tape. The aftermath of the failed drug deal in Turkey was recorded in part of a covert listening device. They were caught as part of Operation Bistro, an investigation into drug dealing and associated money laundering, which police say was taking place on an enormous scale between at least 2008 and 2011. They imported 57 kilograms of heroin into Britain via Turkey, as well as a plot involving 165,000 ecstasy tablets and a batch of pure MDMA powder. The heroin had a street value of almost £7 million, and the ecstasy tablets were worth between £494,000 and £823,000. Jason Fitzgibbon and Ian Fitzgibbon were the leaders of the criminal enterprise, both deeply immersed in drug dealing and money laundering. They ran a lucrative international business, cultivating criminal contacts in the Netherlands, Spain, Turkey, but also in South America, including Colombia and Mexico. They had developed numerous tactics for throwing detectives off their scent. They would conduct business meetings while jogging, and when travelling, would fail to turn up for pre-booked flights, taking different routes and paying in cash. They had also developed a criminal shorthand designed to be indecipherable to all but their fellow conspirators. Little fellas were ecstasy tablets. A ticket man was a courier. A quid was £1,000. They used false passports to travel, booked flights they never actually caught, and paid for with clone cards. Trips to Turkey were via circuitous routes. Miss Christine and her husband Billy were ripping off the estate £1,500 a month in benefits. With pension credits, disability allowance, the family also enjoyed holidays in their luxurious villa in Spain, bought for €300,000, and they kitted out the interior of their Mossley Hill home in Liverpool with top-notch furnishings. But they refrained from lavish trips abroad, and when Mr. Jason Fitzgibbon parked a Porsche on the driveway of his mother's home, he was quickly warned that he was bringing in unwanted attention. The family kept bundles of cash in numerous carrier bags under the house floorboards with a mix of English, Irish and Scottish banknotes, indicating how far their tentacles had stretched. The drug dealing involved huge quantities of both heroin and ecstasy. It involved the importation of multi-kilogram quantities of the drugs into this country, and then the onward supply of those drugs. The scope of the enterprise was truly breathtaking. Those involved had established a criminal network not only in the United Kingdom but in foreign countries, from where they were obtaining massive quantities of heroin. A bug or a covert listening device was planted in their mum's South Liverpool home, which recorded the brothers talking about crime and drugs. The bug, which was planted by an SOCA agent in the family home on Edale Road, recorded the brothers bickering in front of their mum about who was the better drug dealer. Detectives were astounded when they listened back to the tape of Jason and Ian rowing over who was the more adept criminal. Jason said, "Whatever he can do, I can do 10 times better." And Ian replied, "But who do you know over there, lad? Who do you know? Who brought everything back? When has yours brought anything back? When?" The same device also recorded the brothers singing a pop song called "It's All About the Money." Ian Fitzgibbon was later recorded remarking, "That's the story of Jason's life, that turkey thing. 300 quid. 300 quid they owe us." When the police searched her house in Allerton, South Liverpool, they discovered she was far from hard up. Carrier bags containing £182,000 in cash were found hidden under the floorboards and in the central columns of the dining room table. At Mr. Ian Fitzgibbon's home nearby in St Helens, a further £35,000 was found. A member of the notorious Liverpool crime family, Paul Fitzgibbon was banned from driving after failing to reveal who was driving his car in a high-speed police pursuit. Officers lost sight of Paul's hired Audi after trying to stop it in Liverpool last spring. He was disqualified for not identifying the driver of the car in the chase, or in a second incident involving the same car in Staffordshire. Paul said he was hiring the smart Audi Quattro for £15 a day when it was involved in the chase after officers spotted it on Garston Old Road. Michael Caine, prosecuting, said, "This is a matter where the police have seen the vehicle, decided to make the decision to stop the vehicle, and a high-speed pursuit followed." The high-speed pursuit took the cars from Garston Old Road to Duncan Road South, before police lost sight of it. Prosecution papers were sent to Mr. Paul seeking the identity of the driver, as well as in a second incident involving the Audi in Staffordshire in April. His solicitor Lionel Greig referred to problems with Paul's mum and dad's benefits around that time due to consequences of issues relating to the home address from other agencies. Paul argued that losing his licence would severely undermine his role as a full-time carer for his dad, who suffered from arthritis. But District Judge Michael Abelson still banned him from driving for a year and ordered him to pay £1,440 in fines and costs. The 57-month sentence imposed on William Fitzgibbon from Liverpool for supplying drugs is believed to be one of the highest handed down locally by Sheriff Graham Napier, and follows the tougher action taken recently on drug suppliers targeting the Isles. Mr. William Fitzgibbon, a prisoner in Aberdeen, appeared from custody at Lerwick Sheriff Court on Wednesday, where he was described as a career criminal. He had previously pleaded guilty to being concerned in the supply of Class A drugs on the 25th of May at Loch of Vaster Got and elsewhere. Mr. William had also admitted trying to hide from police in the undergrowth at Cloomal Junction, Boddam, Donorosnis, intending to pervert the course of justice on the same date. Prosecutor Fiscal Duncan Mackenzie said 2 police officers on a vehicle patrol had seen the 2 accused sitting in a stationary Vauxhall Corsa on a single-track road at the Loch of Vaster. When police stopped to ask if they were right, they replied yes and immediately accelerated away. The police followed, and by 5 PM they reached Boddam, where they later found Mr. William hiding. They found £450 on him and a wrap of heroin in a section of a sock in the footwell of the car. The police were convinced drugs had been thrown from the car during the pursuit, and later found 75 wraps of heroin at Tingwall in the toe section of the sock, found by analysis to be part of the same sock as in the car. Police then searched the guest house where Mr. William Fitzgibbon had been staying under a false name, and found £2,300 in notes. The court heard that 76 £20 deals would be worth £1,520, representing a 400% profit on the cost price. Shetland was being specifically targeted because of the high price of drugs. Prior to the offence, William had been living in Ripton Street, Walton, Liverpool. He had had a checkered employment history, but his offending had significantly reduced in recent years. His partner had incurred drug debts, and he was drawn into a drug syndicate because of threats made to his 3 children. He had no connection with Shetland, but was sent here to collect £3,000. When he had done that, he could return and his debt would be cleared. Sheriff Napier said that William had admitted being one of the team targeting Shetland as the money man, the enforcer. He had been involved in violence and dishonesty in the past. The sheriff said he could expect to be dealt with severely and sentenced him to 6 years in custody, reduced to 57 months backdated to the 26th of May because of his early plea of guilty. The drugs and the money were ordered to be forfeit. Miss Christine, who admitted laundering £180,000 drugs cash found hidden beneath floorboards in the Mossley home, was jailed for 2 years. Mr. Ian Fitzgibbon was admitted conspiracy to supply heroin, MDMA and money laundering, and was sentenced to 14 years and 6 months in prison. Jason Fitzgibbon pleaded guilty to conspiring to import heroin and was imprisoned for 16 years. Mr. Daniel Smith admitted conspiracy to supply MDMA and was jailed for 10 years. Prosecutors agreed to let charges against William Fitzgibbon lay on file due to a supposed health issue. Sentencing Miss Christine, who admitted money laundering at an earlier hearing, Judge Michael Henshaw said, "You are a significant figure in this case. You knew precisely what you were involved in, you knew precisely where the money was coming from, and I'm quite sure you enjoyed the lifestyle that came with it." He conceded that she must have been influenced by her sons, but said that she was capable of making her voice felt in the house. Jason, who like his brother is a father of 3, was previously given a 7-year prison sentence for serious assault years back, including violent rows with Mr. Curtis Warren, a local gangster, once on Interpol's most wanted list. Ian and Jason Fitzgibbon were locked up in 2013. The National Crime Agency believes that the siblings may have benefited from criminal activities to the tune of £3.2 million. They are using the proceeds of crime legislation in a bid to recoup as much of their ill-gotten gains as possible, but suspect assets could be held off the balance sheets. Model and Desperate Housewives reality TV star Miss Amanda Harrington appeared in court once to support her friend Ian Fitzgibbon. The actress attended Manchester Crown Court along with members of the Fitzgibbon family. Miss Harrington, who is perhaps best known for appearing in the Channel 4 reality TV series Desperate Housewives, only returned from holiday in Miami the day before the day of the hearing. The glamour model sat in court alongside her mum as authorities bid to seize the criminal fortunes of Ian and Jason. Miss Harrington, who was given a kiss on the cheek by Mr. Ian Fitzgibbon as he was led back to the cells, did not give any evidence in the case. Miss Christine Fitzgibbon, the brother's mother, was told to pay back more than £120,000 in ill-gotten gains, or face more than 2.5 years in prison. She was said to have made £280,000 by laundering the illicit profit of her sons. A Rolex watch, cash in a bank account and £1,000 cash will go towards footing the bill, as will the sale of the family home in Mossley Hill, in which she has equity. It was at that house that the police probing the drugs plot had discovered carrier bags containing £182,000 in cash hidden under the floorboards and in the central column of a dining room table. That cash has already been confiscated. The Fitzgibbons, whose violent exploits and feuds with rival families stretch back decades on Merseyside, were described as Tier 1 criminals and at the top of their game. Before an 18-month undercover operation led to their arrest, the Fitzgibbon brothers dispute the amount of money they are said to have made and claim that they have few assets available to seize. Brothers Jason and Ian Fitzgibbon, who have now been released from prison, face a raft of restrictions on their financial activity. The restrictions, aimed exclusively at those who have been involved in serious organised crime, impose a range of strict lifestyle restrictions. The restrictions take effect when individuals are released from prison. The restrictions are designed to prevent hardcore criminals from returning to their old businesses after they have left jail and include Serious Crime Prevention Orders, or SCPOs, and Financial Reporting Orders, FROs, and Travel Reporting Orders, TRO. Mr. Danny Smith, a one-time associate of the Fitzgibbons, is also on the NCA list. Mr. Smith, who is very well known within the city's underworld, now faces an array of restrictions on his financial activity, access to property and vehicles, and the South Liverpool man is subject to a SCPO, TRO and FRO. The brothers' banker, or mum, Christine Fitzgibbon, also faces being stripped of cash accrued illegally, a suspected £447,000. The crime gang's trusted lieutenant, Mr. Daniel Smith, is suspected to have made £148,000 through illegal activities and also faces losing that cash. But really, the issue is going to be hidden in assets. In the case of Miss Christine Fitzgibbon, we have had the very briefest of discussions, but it is possible that we may be able to dispose of the matter without a hearing. In the case of Mr. Daniel Smith, his position is a bit different. There are issues regarding the ownership of the drugs, and also regarding his alleged legitimate income, Again, there is an issue of hidden assets. Let us know what you think of the Fitzgibbon family and their sentences that Ian and Jason were given, and if you think they were fair or unreasonable. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and a share, and leave any thoughts or suggestions you have in the comments section. We love to read through them all. And if you're new but enjoy UK true crime content, then subscribe to see when our newest video releases. And as always, stay safe.